Yeah. What is up, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone here for yet another episode of UnSKripted. I'm here with my guy, EC3, in the building. Always a pleasure. Man, I do not like this. They gave me a new background, but it's chopping my head off. So, Sports Kita, if y'all can change that and not chop my head off. Let's
now the top of your head's the most important part of your head. That's where your brain is.
Yes, that's where my brain is. Absolutely, man.
Well, I'm not Bill.
Say that again.
I'm not Bill.
You're not Bill, but you are my guest. Bill is my my co-host, my common co-host. But I am here with my other co-host of my other show, The Wrestling Outlaws, EC3, man. How are you, my brother?
I am wonderful, except for I have like some upper respiratory infection. So apologize if the voice isn't as distinguished and seductive as usual. But yeah, as far as like Bill not being here, I'm a big Bill guy. I love Bill. Bill's a good man. But we can go ahead and we can have some professional wrestling and life takes that are not from a boomer. So that's going to be really exciting.
That's a good way to put it. That's definitely a good way to put it, man. Especially, and we have pro wrestling takes from someone who, who's less tied to Hulk Hogan than Bill Apter is. I know that's Bill Apter and Hulk Hogan are good pals. I want more of a neutral perspective. You've worked with Hulk Hogan in TNA. Did you work with him in TNA or WWE?
I mean, in passing in WWE when he's coming back as a legend and like looking at our jabroni locker room and just giving us a hey brother. In TNA, him and Bischoff were in charge when I was trying out, but when I officially got to the company, they had departed at the time. But I don't know if this might give me biased takes, but I did go to Hulk Hogan's karaoke bar. I did sing Real American to Hulk Hogan last summer. So I don't know if I can give you a truly neutral take, but I'll do my very best.
Probably more neutral than Bill Apter because Bill Apter and Hulk Hogan are pals. You ever saw Matt Foley back in the day on SNL? Hey, Matt Foley, and I am a motivational speaker. And so he was
begging for a professional wrestler up and coming that is a bit stocky with a lot of charisma to just do Matt Foley. I'm begging.
Yes.
somebody. If you can do it, hit me up at Exodus Pro, please.
Yes. 100%, man. We need a pro wrestling version of Matt Foley, and the reason why I bring him up is one of his skits. He's like, "We're going to be buddies. We're going to be pals," and he was saying that to David Spade. It was laying on the couch. Here's you. There's Matt. There's you. And he falls on the table. And so when I think of Bill Apter and Hulk Hogan, I think we're going to be buddies. We're going to be pals, and you're less of that than Bill Apter is, and so. Of course, I love Bill Apter's takes. It's usually very interesting. I love Bill Apter's a national treasure, man. But I wanted to bring you on the show tonight, just because I want to know your thoughts and your take on all this Hulk Hogan stuff, because I broke the news that Hulk Hogan was going to cut a promo on the Netflix Raw, and that received just a cavalcade, so to speak, of cancelness, and and that just led to he's going to be booed. He's going to be booed. Now, not always does the social media voice completely reflect the popular voice, but it sure enough did on this night, last night, in the LA crowd, which is, granted a blue state, very, very blue, the bluest of blue. I don't want to get too political in this, but very blue state. Of course, Hulk Hogan was in the RNC and has been an avid Trump supporter. However, though, a lot of fans also said, okay, well, Triple H, has showed his support for Trump, and The Undertaker showed his support for Trump, and they both got cheered. So with that being said, let's start there. What was your thoughts on Hogan being booed out the arena and the political? I spoke to some sources close to the situation. I was told that, it was more of a political thing. He didn't stand for what, LA stood for. And do you think that that's true? Or do you think that there's other elements such as the racism incident from 20 years ago?
I think it's the cavalcade of things all boiling up, being over. And one thing you have to recognize, though, if you're going to dabble in the hellish landscape that is the political arena, you are going to turn yourself into a patsy for the reactions you are going to get, depending on who you're around and where you're at. So it's like you enter that arena, you have to expect that's going to happen. I don't know if he expected it because of his legendary status, but again, men of this industry, of that caliber, and of that generation kind of don't see their star ever fade. It kind of and it shouldn't. I mean, Hulk Hogan is a living legend. He practically built WWF to be WWE. He has done so many memorable things within the ring, and I'm sure, like, we can harp on negatives but everybody has them. I'm sure he's done multiple positive things outside of the ring with charities, and like I said, I went to his karaoke bar, and I know he's really into the Clearwater community and helping out. I think he was really into it after the hurricane destruction, but the screen cap of like Hulk there and just saying crowd booing with the subtitles on.
Yes.
Like, it's a meme culture, man. Meme season. It's it. And it was humorous to see. I think it was a boiling over of things because Undertaker showing up, ripping it. Like, I don't even think it was a Trump thing as much as that was a magnifying thing on top of other things that maybe the people that would vote to blue have a perception of the people that would vote to red, and that is all magnified under one glass, whereas maybe they see the tolerance with people they might politically disagree with, but Undertaker or Triple H having some sort of relations with the 47th president of the United States might not be as much of an issue. I think it's a cavalcade, though. And I think LA love to boo things that should be cheered. Don't get me wrong. Things that you would expect to be cheered. And especially a crowd for this event that probably traveled in, and it's not mom and pop taking the kids down to the arena. It's a lot of the more hardcore fan base who are going to go absolutely ham sandwich on you for breaking that news. Hey, man, don't kill the messenger. Dr. Chris is all right. All right. But yeah, I think there's a boiling over of the whole things. And I don't know, live as a hero and long enough to be a villain. The Dark Knight quote, that works.
Either die a hero or live a lot long enough to be a villain. Yeah. It's interesting, man. Man, it's so there's so many. As a black man, there's just so much that I have with this. It's interesting, man, because
I jump real fast though too.
Yeah.
Like talk about the cavalcade of incidents. That is a terminology, and it is unforgivable, and that's rightfully and deserving to be booed, whether he's been forgiven by anybody or asked for it. I mean, mistakes happen. Everyone says dumb, stuff like horrible things, but you don't go there, brother. You just don't. Just don't. Hell, if there's a rap song, if there's a rap song on, I'm kind of like going with it, and I'll just kind of,
yeah.
So.
Yeah. And here's my thing though. Here's my thing. There's other people who's been publicly ostracized, who's been publicly ousted, not necessarily ostracized, who's been publicly ousted. And this is not a defense of Hulk Hogan for sure. I do think that I do want to see some consistency though. I mean, that's where I'm at. Like, look, if you cancel Hulk Hogan, cancel away. But my thing is, when it comes to the pro wrestling sphere, where's the consistency? Like, is this just another groupthink cancel fad? I mean, that's become very common and popular in the pop culture scene, especially from a pro wrestling standpoint. It's just another cancel fad, or is this like unforgivable? And if it's unforgivable, what is the threshold of forgiveness? Because there's been more wrestlers who's been there's been legendary wrestlers and managers who's been ousted for saying the N-word, within, and being caught doing so. So I'm just wondering, like, what's the difference between like them and then Hogan, and then there's other people who's been like, arrested for like DV, who's been, I mean, and it's just like, what's the litmus test here of being canceled when it comes to pro wrestling culture, in your opinion?
I don't know. I'm pretty much an independent thinker, so I'll make my decisions based on my own information, feelings, hopefully not emotions, preferably facts, but sometimes emotions because we're humans and we do that. You mentioned something, and I mean, I can't speak on it. Well, I guess I could because I do have African American in me, but
very nice.
Sorry, brother. What is that forgivable in your estimation? What Hulk said?
Yeah, personally,
yeah,
as a Christian man, 100%, absolutely.
Yes. And I think like almost everything is forgivable, and even in a Christian perspective, everything is forgivable. Mm-hmm. But in reality, to me, not that almost everything's forgivable. So I do think it's easy to join a group and to gang up on something to let your feelings be heard. And it's easy to, I don't want to say fall in line, but share a consensus think based on the information you're taking in or you are fully investing yourself into what are we commenting on? What are we talking about? And is this truly how I feel? Mm-hmm. And to be fair, booing is contagious and it's kind of fun, especially when you're realizing there's an awkward situation developing that's changing perhaps the choreographed but planned reactions everybody had. I mean, that's the deal with live TV, and that's the deal with a live audience is like they determine how they're going to react, and they pay money to be there. So more often than not, they have that right. So yeah. But like there is, where is forgiven? Why is this forgiven? And why is that not forgiven? I think it's all based on trickle down effect of information and opinions for people that they seek information and opinions from. And if one consensus is strong in one way, we're going to jump on that.
Yeah.
But everything is forgivable, right? Almost.
Yeah, I mean that's where the cavalcade, that's where I'm leaning. I mean, we got some super chats that we'll get to. If you want something on the screen, comments, ask EC3, ask me, comment about the situation. We're going to get into it. Just go ahead.
My grandma was born in Algeria, so I am African. That's why.
Awesome, man. I appreciate the wonderful, beautiful. That's the reason why, man. I'm telling you, there was something about you. I mean, you're a handsome guy, but there was just a drop of something in you that I knew that I could relate to. So there's the kinsmanship there. Yes, indeed. But yeah, I think I don't know. Again, man, it gets back to the point of in the pro wrestlers, in the pro wrestling mindset, in the pro wrestling culture, what's forgivable versus unforgivable. And if Hulk Hogan is a racist, which people are saying that he is. Now, what's the criteria? And again, I'm not saying this to defend Hulk Hogan. I'm legitimately wanting to know this stuff. Like I'm wanting to know what's the criteria of being a racist to Hulk Hogan when other pro wrestling talent has said the N-word too, been caught for it, but has been forgiven. So like, and this was a tape. This was 20 years ago. I'm interested in knowing a data set within the past 20 years that supports further supports Hulk Hogan being a racist. You know what he's being called. I'm just really, I'm genuinely inquiring. Like I'm genuinely wanting to know about this. It's really interesting. And what, I can say other names who've been ousted, for saying the N-word, I mean, and it's like, but they're forgiven, but Hulk Hogan isn't. So that's the reason why I think it's a success. It's a succession of things or a cavalcade of things, because I think the 2005 incident coupled with the political leaning is a compound cancellation. I mean, I think that's what it seems like. That's the case. So, yep. What you got on that?
I have nothing to add because I'll probably cancel myself if I keep going. I'm kidding. I would just say, that is the beauty of freedom of speech and, the freedom of opinion, free to have them. And in whichever way you feel. So not the freedom of speech to say bad words, but freedom of speech to voice your opinions on somebody, whether you have diligent research or base knowledge of an incident that was probably stupid and off the cuff and ignorant and wrong and maybe hateful, but at the same time, what has followed that up that would dictate using that term to describe somebody? Because it is often thrown around very frivolously, and it's kind of it loses meaning with the amount it's been used, and it's an easy tag to nail somebody with without there being legitimate truth behind it. Not saying Hulk, but saying in general. So
yeah. I mean, for those, we're about to get to the super chats. I'm really wanting to know this. Like, I'm genuinely wanting to know this. Like, I really want to hear your voice on this. Pro wrestling culture. I want to hear your voice when it comes to this. What's forgivable versus unforgivable, and if multiple people do the same thing, what makes one person forgiven and the other person not? If the only set of data is we have like one incident. And so I'm really interested in knowing that. And be sure to super chat.
I love the discourse, and we got a great forum. We got a little super chat action.
Yeah.
I know I'm begging you to pay money to let me hear your opinion, but in reality, I'm very curious to discussion with the fans on what they would think of this situation.
Yeah, for sure. We got Awesome Sauce $5. Can you explain how fans boo Hogan for racism but cheered Vince after the NDAs and Janelle Grant abuse makes any sense other than fans being hypocrites? I mean, Awesome Sauce brings it up. I mean, again, here's another explanation. You've had allegedly a long list of accusations tied to Vince McMahon stemming 40 years. And he's heralded when he comes out, even after, he comes out on an episode of SmackDown, after, going through some stuff, trying to kind of jump ahead of the PR train, and still everybody knows what's going on, all the allegations, and he gets cheered on SmackDown, man.
I remember this. I just don't remember if it was something announced in advance, or was it like you're at the live show and then you hear that music and that's your reaction right away? Because I think one thing with the Hogan deal is reported about this, people really laying it in. That pot is boiling, it's tea kettle steaming, and they're just waiting to explode. Whereas I think the only thing with the Vince situation would be they were not expecting him to come out, and that music hits, and you're like, what?
I think Stephanie announced that he was going to come out, if I'm not
and they're
mistaken.
hypocrites. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was like, yeah. So I mean, it was one of those things that, I mean, there's been a couple of times where he's came out and he's received a pop because he had that surprise pop. But yeah, I mean, the Netflix camera crew definitely made sure to zoom in like very close on the people who were cheering Hogan, because he was supposed to be the baby face of the night, and it didn't work. So yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting dynamic. I'm really wanting to know what makes the difference, the delineation there.
I'm glad I actually watched Raw so we can talk about it. So.
Indeed. Awesome Sauce, once again, $5. Most Hogan haters are Gen Z and say dumb stuff like Dusty Rhodes could have been in the spot. Yeah, Dusty workout set, not a Hogan one, is what kids wanted.
Be fair, I did get my hands on the sandpaper weights of the Hulk Hogan weight set. It is not responsible for my physique in any sort of way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. But I would say, yeah, it was cool. It was cool to have.
Yeah, yeah. Dusty Rhodes, I don't know. Dusty Rhodes and Hogan was just, Dusty Rhodes was like the soulful uncle in the cookout that you love to see him come. You know what I mean? Every time, like, where's Uncle Dusty? Oh, there he is. You know what I mean? He's over there cutting a promo. Hey, baby. Yeah, good to see you, baby. You know, that's a Dusty. Like, Hogan and Dusty to me is apples and oranges. So I don't see. Yeah, I think there's a difference.
Definitely with, I would think, the NWA at the time compared to what the WWF was producing.
Right.
I mean, in theory, you put Dusty in the Hogan spot and probably a lot of good things happen, but it's a totally different future. This is butterfly effect, kind of. Yeah, I get the point, though. Like, could he have been in a spot? Yeah, but one thing that sold about Hogan was that 6'8", mega huge man, where Dusty being the everyday common man is what made him so appealing, sort of in the South and with the NWA territories.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was more of a superhero type of dynamic that he was telling the kids to, train and say your prayers and eat your vitamins and believe in yourself. Although Dusty would he could cut a mean promo about that. It wouldn't have as much umph in it as Hogan saying it. So yeah, I'm more of a Dusty fan than a Hogan fan personally. But that's one of those things. He was that old school preacher man that I can relate to.
Dusty's your guy, I remember, right?
Second all time.
Sting was.
Sting, yes.
I beat Sting. So.
Yeah. You did beat Sting. Yes, you were. I think you were second to last to beat Sting. I think Nick Aldis was the last person to beat Sting in TNA, and you were the penultimate defeater of Sting, man. So congratulations to you. We got Rolland, $5. I've maintained that Steve Austin is the GOAT. Can Hogan still be the GOAT in the GOAT convo if he's the most hated and least respected man in pro wrestling? What do you think about that, EC3?
Is he the most hated and least respected? I think personally.
Over the past 24 hours, yes.
Yeah, the last 24 hours, sure. But like respecting the man or the body of work, it's like a musician or an actor gives an opinion that you don't like. Do you disrespect their work? And I would think, well, maybe do, maybe don't, whatever you want to do. I agree, though, with Steve Austin is the effing man. Like, Steve Austin is the GOAT. And I think the only thing that holds him back from official GOAT status was that run being cut short with his neck injury. Because, dude, he's the best. And as a guy that's trained and done this for a while and like looking at intricacies and like little things now and watching old stuff back, I'm like, he's incredible. He is the GOAT.
Okay, well, let's talk about it then. Let's talk about it. So, Steve Austin, this is public information. Steve Austin has been a name who's been tied in with allegations before. And so, what makes Steve Austin forgivable? I mean, I'll forgive both of them, but what makes Steve Austin forgivable in the public eye versus Hulk Hogan?
I completely forgot until you brought that up, too. And it's not a question I can answer because I have my opinions and I respect diligently both the work the men have done, and I understand that humans are capable of making very big mistakes, and how do they atone for them, and how do they find peace, and hopefully they find forgiveness, and I wish all the best. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Sure thing. Yeah, it's really an interesting it's really an interesting phenomenon. I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna really get into on P&P, Pancakes and Power Slams, after this show. It's, you know, I've turned it to psychology classes in the realm of pro wrestling. Yeah,
like Sportskeeda, if you're not checking out PNP with Dr. Chris, like the way he breaks things down. I mean, I'm a psychology buff. I like books and I like stoicism and I like philosophy, but the way he kind of breaks things down in like the human nature, it's always a lesson. It's always very intriguing. And I say, get outside the bubble. Stop reading the same comments you're going to read, the same forums. Look at pro wrestling from a different perspective and check that out.
Thank you. Appreciate the pub, man. I'm gonna break down the psychology of cancel culture. I'm gonna go like super deep inside. I'm gonna go origin. I'm gonna go how it became how it is now, how that relates to Hulk Hogan. So it's gonna be a lot of fun talking about that.
I definitely don't think it has the effect that it did even a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'll go into. Yeah, cancel culture in a minute. It's a really interesting phenomenon. It really has given a lot of outcasts a voice, a powerful strength in numbers presence. You know what I mean? And so, and the origin of it was a lot different than it is now. And I'll break that down. It's really interesting.
Speaking of Raw yesterday, real fast, because I don't check what the internet says about something. If I like something, I like it. I make up my own mind. But was Rollins, did he really hurt his knee, or was he just doing a good job selling?
There's some rumors. I haven't heard anything about an injury, but I'll get details in that about that soon. But it was some rumor though.
Yeah, I hope not, because I don't wish knee injuries on anybody. I've had enough of myself. But if he's good, the psychology and the story he was telling with Punk and with that knee, like it wasn't even a significant, like, oh, we'll do that and you start selling your leg. It was kind of like a shoot across, like shot him buckle to buckle, and he started coming up limp, and the announcers put it over. But with the promos they did leading up to that, and that being part of the match, I thought that was excellent. And if he was hurt, he gutted through it, and he's able to pull off that top rope crazy Falcon Arrow deal with one leg, even more credit. But I really liked that match.
Yeah. Rollin, $5. Well, there is audio proof of Hogan. There's a second audio of Hogan telling his son that coming back as black in the next life is a punishment from God.
Wow. Well then, I mean, do you forgive him? All right, that's stupid. Like that's
stupid. Yes, that's very stupid. Let's make that very clear. But this audio proof to me just shows that was a very stupid moment from Hulk Hogan. But it still doesn't prove the point of there's other proof from other wrestlers that people forgive. I still don't like it. This still doesn't justify why Hogan's unforgiven and why other names are forgiven from multiple allegations too. So that's what I'm wondering about.
It's easier to be offended than to forgive. Granted, that was fucking, pardon me, rough. That's not a good thing. And then I'm not defending it. I don't even want to say it.
Likewise. Yeah,
But
me
like
either.
the context, are you joking, brother? Like, and it's not even a thing to talk about, but like
Yeah.
context is important. And what I despise about kind of like media apparatus and the way information travels is context is always taken out of context,
Yes.
where we're not hearing the truth and we're being reported to, whether it's a net positive for a certain side or a net positive for the other side. So context is important. That's a dumb thing. I do not endorse it.
Agreed. Yeah, neither do I. I think that's very dumb. I mean, we do live in a clip culture. I mean, and I think because we live so much in a clip culture, our attention spans psychologically is like to the shreds now. And I think it's horrible. I think the last time I saw it was about 8 seconds, and so that's horrible. First of all, but I do think because we live such in a microwave clip culture, we're trying to make an oven presentation from a microwave piece of food here, and I think the problem with that is that it doesn't taste the same. You don't get the same effect here.
And
And
it nukes the nutrition out, apparently.
there you go. Yes, it does. Absolutely. And I think we do need some nutritional context here when
Yeah.
it comes to these particular audio clips. And again, personally, not at all to justify Hogan stuff. I've listened to the clips, when it became a big thing. I listened to it. I listened to it at length, and I'm like, "Ooh, man, Hogan, what?" Like, this is someone who, as a kid, I was saying my prayers and taking my vitamins and believing in yourself. This definitely would be a never meet your heroes type of moment, by listening to this. But again, man, I still stand by my inquiry to the pro wrestling culture, and say it here, super chat. We're about to head out, but leave it in the comments. What makes Hogan's sins different than other wrestlers in the industry who's been caught doing the same thing or abusing other people, so and they're forgiven. So I'm interested in
Man, everything sucks. It's,
that.
like the guys, how the sausage is made and the things that you don't know. Oh man, like that's why. I mean, I'm so desensitized and deranged practically. See all these elements play out in real time.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't meet your heroes, right? And then I was always a JBL advocate for his big clothesline and his ability to be a really jerky rich person that I eventually, I guess I became or am. That guy clotheslined me the other day. So don't meet your heroes because he will clothesline you for no reason. Just
What a
hell,
dastardly human being.
from hell.
My goodness. Horrible. EC3, let them know where to find you, man. Got any upcoming dates?
Yeah, make sure you're watching NWA Power on X before.
Yeah, what's up with this call of EC3 stuff, man?
Oh no, I'm like my
What a
ex is
turncoat.
taking over. See, like the one issue I had with how to present this is I don't want it to be like looking like a CYN thing, but this is my way of bringing in my talent that I'm cultivating and creating because I'm a master genius and a manipulator, but a true natural born leader in this industry to bring in the talent I see are deserving of opportunities over the complacency and the tired and the nonsensical things I have seen in the industry. So the cult per se, it's not a cult, it's kind of a culture, but it is Exodus Pro making itself canon in the NWA. And having said that, make sure X at Exo Pro Wrestling. On Instagram, it's Exodus Pro, I think. I don't know. Just type it in, guys.
Yeah.
But we have a big show coming up 118, and that will be Begin Again. I got stars like Richard Holiday. I have Dante Casanova and Pretty Boy Smooth going for the championship. And like I've watched these guys grow, and it's awesome to see them in this opportunity. I took myself off the show because I want to get more young talent on it. But we're also going to put that live on the NWA YouTube. So that's Saturday, the 18th at 6:05 p.m. NWA on YouTube, and or just come to Cleveland, buy a ticket. It's awesome. Short of that, watching NWA on X, following me at the real EC3, and maybe I'm coming to your area soon. I don't know. I have a torn hamstring, so I'll be out for a minute.
Oh man. Well, best wishes to your injury, my man. So appreciate you joining me, man. We got some work to do this the week, this week we got some shows to make, and so this will not be the last time that we chat this week, but this was the first, and so I first, as far as face to face ish digitally.
Check out Pancakes and Power Slams, guys.
Thank you, man. I'm headed right over there. It's going to be fun. Cancel culture. You want to know about it? Come on with it, man. It's going to be fun. So this guy right here is EC3. I'm Dr. Chris. This is the UnSKripted. Have a good night, everybody. So long.